Afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to join us for our annual webinar in preparation of Advocacy Day, which is coming up quickly. We're very excited to have all of you join us in DC. For those that I haven't had the opportunity to meet, I'm Jason Reno, the Vice President of Government Affairs, here at RV Industry Association. I'm joined by my colleagues on the federal team who you'll hear from throughout this webinar. I just want to start by thanking all of you for registering for Advocacy Day and taking the time to join us today for this session. We know there's a lot going on in everybody's day to day, and we know a lot of planning and execution and investment goes into participating in Advocacy Day and RVs Move America Week, and we really appreciate everybody taking the time to do so. A lot going on in Washington these days. Our federal team is hard at work championing issues to benefit our industry. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump right in. So in past years, we can move ahead. Slide, please. So we always like to start with kind of the logistics of the day and notes for successful meetings and what to expect. So everybody, as always, will be accompanied by a guide. Those guides are either RVIA employees, RVDA employees, or representatives from both Polsinelli and Serini Samet, who are our contract lobbyists here in Washington, D.C. So everybody will have a guide and be placed into a group. We will once again do our Tuesday afternoon training where you'll have an opportunity to meet your guide and your group to help plan logistics for Wednesday. Wednesdays can be very busy on the Hill. There's often 10 a.m. committee meetings, sometimes afternoon committee meetings. And if you've joined us previously, there can be other Advocacy Day happenings at that time. So make sure you plan for at least 15 minutes to get through security and use all entrances, not those on Constitution and Independence, which are those main drags. But there are entrances around the buildings, and Capitol Police can always point you in the right direction. As folks who have attended before know, June in DC can be hot, like 95 degrees and about 130 million% humidity. So it's advised to use the tunnels to go between buildings to avoid going through security multiple times. It's more comfortable and it'll save you time. There are signs throughout the buildings, including on elevators, telling you if you want to go from one building to another, go to this floor and you get out, and then there are signs around the building. You can always ask the staff in the office from the meeting you're leaving, hey, what's the quickest way to get to wherever you're going next? And also Capitol Police officers are always very friendly and willing to help out and help you get where you need to go. And as I said, there's signs everywhere around these buildings, near elevators, points of entry, and things like that. Next slide, please. So what to expect in the actual meeting. There's a lot going on Capitol Hill. You may have to wait a few minutes. House offices especially are very small. There's usually the member's office, a bullpen area where most of the staff sits, and then maybe one other office. So don't be surprised if you end up meeting in a hallway or a stairwell, or even in like one of the restaurants or cafeterias. Also, don't be surprised this staff is young. They often are. And don't be offended if a member meeting becomes a staff meeting. Staff are the ones that get things done. Staff are the ones that have close relationships with colleagues, and can pick up the phone or shoot an email and get people onto a bill, And rest assured, they'll be talking to their boss about the meeting. So if you're scheduled for a member meeting, but it gets bumped to a staff meeting, don't take it personally. It happens all the time. There are many competing priorities. It's really important to read the room. We'll be providing talking points for our top three legislative or our top three topics, which Sam and Jack will touch on in a minute. But don't feel like you have to get through everything, right? We've all been in meetings, whether they be advocacy meetings or sales calls or something like that, where who you're talking to seems distracted, rushed, or is giving cues that the meeting is over. Follow those cues. Don't feel the need to ensure that all the talking points are delivered. If you're running late to a meeting, please contact Molly from Serini Samet, who is our scheduling guru, or Gianna on our team, who's running point on this during the day, or please reach out to me. That way, we can let the office know that you're running late. Similarly, if you get a call or a text from me during the day of, it's probably because the schedule has changed. So please, if you're in a meeting, call me back right afterwards. If you're available, please answer the call so that we can get your schedule rearranged. As those of you that have participated for years know, it is inevitable that we will have schedule changes the day of. That's the nature of the beast. So want to make sure we're conveying that to guides as quickly as possible. Hopefully most of you are joining us tomorrow to learn about our Event Mobi app. We'll also be using that to notify folks of schedule changes. What to expect, meeting logistics. Members and staff want to hear from you and about your company. I say this all the time because it's true. We have a great government affairs team here at RVIA who do great work every day on behalf of our industry. But what you all bring to the table in a few weeks is the personal impact, the personal story. How are tariffs impacting your business? What does it mean to be navigating them? What is the benefit of making the lifestyle more affordable? And members and staff want to hear that from you. Introduce yourself, exchange business cards. We are releasing the new economic impact study during RVs Move America week. And that information, both at the state and district level, will be included in your app. So all politics is parochial, all politics is local. Members and staff want to know what the industry means in their state and district. And I think this is really important for everybody. We talk about it as lobbyists all the time. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but we'll get back to you. We're not expecting anybody to know the answer to every question, and that's totally fine. We don't know all the answers to all the questions. So just make note of it so that the team can follow up. And I think importantly, if you're comfortable and amenable, feel free to invite the member of Congress to your facility. They're always back in district, back in state. They want to highlight what's happening in their state and district. And you'll find that most members, if not immediately, will be interested and take you up on that offer. Next slide. So we are once again going to be in Senate Hart 902 for the reception starting at 4:30 on Advocacy Day. This is the same room we were in last year. It's you could see on the star there where the Hart Senate office building is on Constitution. Constitution is second. The most important thing, again, feel free to ask any staff, excuse me, or Capitol Police officers, but once you're in the Hart Senate office building, only the north bank elevators, which are on the C Street side, will take you up to Hart 902. So please make sure you're getting in those elevators to make it up to Hart 902. Thanks. Next slide, please. So, common questions. Do I have to memorize every aspect of each issue? No. We'll have talking points for you, and there's no downside to having the copy in front of you and referring to it, whether it be for specific messaging you want to hit or specific numbers. Same with the app, right? Have the app. You can absolutely have that out in front of you. Are these the only issues I can discuss during the meeting? They're not the only issues, but we do encourage you to stay as focused as possible on these issues because these are issues that are impacting the entire industry, and we want to make sure that we are delivering as unified a message as possible. What kind of leave behind materials will there be? We are finalizing the 2026 federal policy guide, and your guides will have those as leave behinds. And then I'll get to the next two in a second. What is the dress code and what should I bring? The dress code is business, and highly recommend, and those who have participated before will probably agree, comfortable shoes. There's a lot of walking in between buildings, both inside and outside. And sometimes, despite the best of our intentions, meetings get stacked or meetings run long and they end up getting stacked, and there's requirement for quick movement. Highly recommend if you're going from one side to the other and it's hot, jump in a cab, jump in an Uber. What should I bring? Comfortable shoes, a cell phone charger for sure, so that if you need it at any time during downtime, you can do that. The other thing to consider is that you will be going through airport style security at least once and likely multiple times. So just be cognizant of anything that you'll have to take off, and whether you want to bring that or not. I think those are the big things. Business cards, pen and pad if you want to take notes, things like that. But definitely business cards for you are key as well. And then when will we be able to view our schedules and who is my guide? That is being worked on and finalized over the next couple of weeks. We will be meeting as a team. We are constantly meeting as a team, I should say, to work on that and to finalize that. But the final will be locked by end of day on the 27th of May, so 2 weeks from yesterday. And then so we'll be releasing your schedules will be complete in the app starting on May 28th. And then we will be sharing with your guides who is in their group, and they'll be reaching out. And then again, we'll be doing the training on Tuesday afternoon, where guides and advocates can meet and plan over the next day. One thing I'll say that we're doing this year is we know just the nature of RVMA and Advocacy Day, that Tuesday afternoon gets quite busy. We have a couple of meetings at the administration level on Tuesday afternoon that will coincide with that training. And so you'll be notified in the room if your guide is not present, and we will be connecting you to via text and or email. Similarly for guides, if one or more of your advocates are not in the room because they're at an administration meeting, we'll be doing the same, and there'll be opportunities for you to connect virtually, and then hopefully ideally Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening at the reception to discuss logistics. Next slide, please. We'll pause there before we get into the issues, but any questions? Okay. With that, I will turn it over to Sam Rossi, our Director of Federal Affairs, to start walking us through our Advocacy Day asks. Sam, take it away.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We are so glad to have you joining us for this year's Advocacy Day. As Jason said, it is incredibly impactful and we really appreciate it. So, as you can see, this year we will have four asks, asking members to urge certainty on tariffs and an opportunity to share your company's experience with the tariffs, including RVs in the no tax on vehicle loan provision, Legacy Restoration Fund reauthorization, and either joining or thanking members for already being part of the House and Senate RV caucuses. Next slide. So we're going to start with something that has been top of mind for many of us, myself included, over the past year and a half, and that is tariffs. Obviously, a lot has happened on tariffs over this past year and a half. We've had the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or the IEEPA tariffs, imposed and then struck down by the Supreme Court. We now have this 10% Section 122 tariffs, various 232 and 301 investigations, and just constantly shifting goalposts. So, due to the nuanced nature of the tariff discussion for the industry, this is a combination of a pretty universal ask, but also an opportunity for you all to share your stories and your company's stories with your members of Congress. Through our trade surveys and conversations with members, one thing that has been clear to us is that the industry is not monolithic and that the impact of the tariffs do vary based on a variety of factors. But the one thing that is consistent is that there has been a lack of certainty, and the companies are facing real challenges that make it harder to expand production, invest in innovation, and expand workforces. And your members of Congress do want to hear about how your company has been affected by them and how you are handling them. So we have tailored this conversation to both make that ask while also giving you the opportunity to share all of that. So we do encourage all of you to share domestic sourcing issues, attempts to buy domestic or reshore production, and barriers to doing so that you may have encountered, or in the alternative, any successful moves to shift to domestic purchasing or reshoring, products that are currently unavailable in the United States, and the efforts you've taken to locate alternative sources for products and then just the general economic impact and administrative burden that your company has had to deal with as a result of the tariffs. And then the more universal ask is urging the administration and Congress to recognize that companies are attempting to reshore inputs, but in many cases, the capacity and or the expertise just does not exist yet, that certain parts and materials do remain unavailable domestically despite manufacturers' best efforts, and that uncertainty around tariffs makes it incredibly difficult for businesses to plan and invest. And just to clarify, you do not need to come into your meeting with a running tally in your head of various tariffs and rates and deals, but just come prepared with examples of real ways that the tariffs have affected your business. Next slide. Those of you who are Advocacy Day veterans may have thought that you were done with discussing niche tax code definition changes after we successfully got our floor plan bill passed last year, but you would be mistaken. A new definition problem did emerge from the One Big Beautiful Bill, which introduced a new provision titled No Tax on Car Loan Interest. And this provision allows Americans to deduct up to $10,000 per year on the interest they pay when they finance a new United States manufactured vehicle. This deduction phases out at $100,000 for single filers and $200,000 for joint filers, fully phasing out at around $150,000 and $250,000 respectively. Thanks to Congressman Yakum, the House language included all RVs in the definition of applicable passenger vehicle for the purposes of this deduction. Unfortunately, the RV language was stripped in the Senate, and the provision now defines applicable passenger vehicle as a vehicle that is manufactured primarily for use on public streets, roads, and highways, a car, minivan, sport utility vehicle, pickup truck, or motorcycle, which is treated as a motor vehicle under Title II of the Clean Air Act, and which has a gross vehicle weight rating of less than 14,000 pounds. While our interpretation is that the RVs that meet that definition are currently included in the deduction, mainly type Bs, the majority of RVs are no longer included due to those categories listed, that clean air requirement, and the gross vehicle weight rating limitation. This has already caused confusion at RV dealerships and really unnecessarily prevents purchasers of American-made RVs, which are titled as vehicles in all 50 states, from taking advantage of this provision. Last week, House RV Caucus co-chairs Representatives Rudy Yakum and Dina Titus did introduce HR 8672, or No Tax on RV Loans, which restores RVs to the full definition by retaining that current definition that I just read through, but adding or is designed to provide temporary living quarters for recreational, camping, or seasonal use, and is a motor vehicle designed to be towed by or affixed to a motor vehicle. So really the simplest way to describe our proposed language is that you can either meet that definition or you can be an RV and count as an applicable passenger vehicle. This is in line with the spirit of the legislation because, as I noted before, RVs are titled as vehicles in all 50 states and serve everyday Americans. According to our data, the average RV buyers are middle-income families, not necessarily high-worth individuals looking to buy luxury goods, but families seeking affordable ways to travel, recreate, and explore. Additionally, the auto loan interest deduction is above the line, meaning that taxpayers can take this deduction regardless of whether they itemize or take the standard deduction. This is different from the mortgage interest deduction for second homes, which is an itemized deduction only. And so because a majority of taxpayers now take the standard deduction, this is more broadly accessible and will likely benefit more RV buyers than that second home mortgage interest deduction. So all of that being said, our asks in the House are to support and co-sponsor HR 8672, which ensures that all RVs meet the definition of applicable passenger vehicles, allowing taxpayers to take that deduction, and in the Senate to support companion legislation, which the RVIA Government Affairs team is working to get introduced in the coming weeks. Now I will turn things over to Jack Holt, our Manager of Federal Affairs, to walk through our next asks, the Legacy Restoration Fund reauthorization, and joining or thanking folks for being members of the RV Caucus.
Hey, Jack, I just want to jump in. We have a really important comment that came through to part of the chat that I want to highlight before we go on, which is that tariffs are also causing additional inflation on top of previous inflationary impacts that is impacting demand. It's a really important point and one that we will be highlighting on Advocacy Day, which is that there were quite a few business related benefits to the One Big Beautiful Bill that passed last year, but there are inflationary and economic headwinds, or whichever term you're comfortable using, whether it be tariffs and the tariffs writ large, and then the uncertainty around tariffs, decreasing consumer sentiment, increased gas prices, other impacts of the war in Iran that are overwhelming those benefits. And that's a big part of our message on Advocacy Day. So I just wanted to highlight that comment that came through. It's a really important one. Of tariffs aren't in a vacuum. They are on top of a lot of the other economic headwinds, inflationary impacts that you all are facing on a daily basis. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason and Sam. Now on to the recreation side of things, which importantly, I think we should note that recreation kind of continues to be one of these few areas of bipartisanship left that we kind of see in Congress. You know, so much of what moves today is either in reconciliation measures or on partisan basis, but recreation has just not been that way from what we've seen. You know, the Explore Act passed unanimously last Congress through both chambers, pretty impressive. And so it shows that there's an opportunity in the recreation space that we want to take advantage of and encourage members and staff when we're up there on the Hill to continue to engage in. The priority for this Congress is to pass the America the Beautiful Act, which is sponsored by Senators Dane from Montana and Senator King from Maine, which would reauthorize the Legacy Restoration Fund. Created in 2020, the Legacy Restoration Fund, or the LRF for short, was specifically created to tackle deferred maintenance backlogs in the National Park Service, forests, and other public land agencies. This covers everything from roads, campgrounds, water and electrical systems, trails, really you name it. If it's infrastructure on public lands, it counts. And the beauty of the LRF and why it was so valuable is that it was a dedicated, predictable funding stream specifically for deferred maintenance. You know, it didn't have to go through the regular appropriations process, which if you've paid attention to Congress at all a little bit, you know that it's not always the smoothest process. So really getting that guaranteed funding year over year allowed DOI and allowed the Park Service to really think about the future, get projects underway that are larger in scope in a way that they can't normally when they have to rely on that process. The America the Beautiful Act would extend the LRF until 2033. It would raise funding levels to account for inflation, and it would put greater emphasis on projects that already have local support and financial backing on the ground. In the first 5 years of operation, the LRF, in our eyes, was a massive success. The program allocated over $8 billion across the United States to over 1,000 projects, created 73,000 jobs, and added an estimated $16 billion in economic impact to the U.S. economy. Despite all those numbers, there still are some detractors who oppose the LRF, and that's primarily because even with the LRF and all that it's accomplished and all the projects, the deferred maintenance backlog has continued to go up. As you can see on the screen, it's now exceeding 40 billion or thereabouts. It's unlikely on Hill Day that you'll get much resistance, frankly, where this point will be brought up. Most people have public lands in their states and they're very proud of them. They're very popular. And if they don't have public lands directly in their state, they probably have constituents who like to go to public lands and visit them. But if you do get folks kind of questioning the value of the Legacy Restoration Fund or just why the backlog has gone up despite it, and really just so you guys are aware as well, I just wanted to give you guys a few of those points to kind of have in your back pocket. And there's no need to like write these down. We'll have these in your talking points for you too. The first one's just aging infrastructure. It's just kind of a matter of fact that most of the infrastructure assets on public lands were built, you know, in the 2030s, 50s, 60s. And we didn't really have a big push or maintenance backlog push until LRF in 2020. So a lot of these assets are just frankly hitting their critical lifespans at kind of at the same time. And that's kind of where we're seeing this compounding of a problem. Also, just construction inflation is a massive one. From 2019 to 2023, construction material rose in cost by 42%, according to the Federal Reserve. And that's, you know, that COVID inflation, causing significant increases to all the project costs across the board. And it's not just National Park Service. I used to work with the Bureau of Reclamation. It was the same thing there, all over the place. And then really just accurate accounting. Kind of for once, you know, frankly, the National Park Service and other public land agencies, they knew they didn't have the money for a lot of these projects, so they just didn't put the resources into actually logging them. Whether not a great progress, but you know, now that they're actually doing so, now they know LRF exists and they might get funding to help address some of these issues, and they put more resources towards that. So for the first time, we're getting more accurate accounting of these issues on public lands, which is another reason why you see that increase. So those are kind of the talking points, or just reasons why the backlog has gone up despite having LRF, but it doesn't take away from it being vitally important to continue fighting that. That backlog is not going to decrease without it by any means. And another argument that you might come across up on Capitol Hill is that, you know, the LRF, it spends money and it's going to require an offset or a pay for to be considered by Congress. And if you run into that, don't worry. I run into it all the time. And it's not for you, it's not up to you to change their minds. we understand and appreciate that point, obviously. Just let them know that you empathize with that concern. You guys run businesses. I don't, you guys do. And you understand there's only so much money that can really go to different things. So in that case, just let them know that, hey, we understand that viewpoint. In our viewpoint, LRF has been very successful. It's proven to be a worthwhile investment for resources on the ground and getting projects underway that could never have been done. And if we don't have those projects and this funding dedicated to this, we're going to continue to see less and less access, less ability for RVers and other recreators to get out to public lands and actually enjoy them. And just to be clear, this isn't new tax dollars or a new fee being imposed that funds the LRF. Their LRF pulls directly from energy receipts on public lands and waters. The idea kind of back when it was passed in 2020 was kind of a pay to play thing. So if you wanted to develop energy on public lands and waters, fantastic. But part of those receipts was going to go back towards maintaining those same public lands and waters. So that was kind of the idea at the time. So that's just kind of a clarification on the spending aspect of the LRF and where that comes from. But if you kind of run into that in the office, don't worry. If they're talking about offsets, just let them know that we support the program and they should take that offset concern to the lead sponsors in both the Senate and the House. That way they can have those discussions. It's not up to you to help them find an offset. That's on Congress. Kind of transitioning back to the need for the LRF and just a few interesting data points for you all. We did a really interesting survey last fall, and we found that 9 in 10 RVers visited at least one type of public land in the 2025 recreation season. 9 in 10. And national parks were the most common destination, but all RVers, nearly 97% that visited a national park, also visited another category of public lands, whether that was national forests, recreation areas, or somewhere else. So the data kind of just shows that, these are areas that our end users frequent, and we want to continue to make sure that they're looked after and that RVers have good experiences so that when they go to the campgrounds, they have electricity that works when they plug in, that they have trails to walk and experience, that they have visitor centers and history that they can see. And it's clear that that's not always the case. Also, in that same fall survey, it was evident that RVers are starting to kind of notice the disrepair at our federal parks, especially. 7 in 10 RVers who visited a national park during that stretch encountered at least one issue or problem during the course of their trip. And that was between things like campground or trail closures, reduced hours at visitor centers, or just trouble getting into the park. So it's clear, a couple things really are clear from the data. RVers love the parks, they love public lands, but they are starting to notice some of those outdated facilities and reduced staffing that's causing some of these hiccups when they actually go out there. By supporting America the Beautiful Act, we're ensuring that these parks and public lands can get access to more of that money for those facilities that they need to modernize and just get these out-of-date facilities up to code. As things stand, kind of the lay of the land legislatively, when we go up to the Hill, we're in pretty good shape. The Senate bill that we're working on, the America the Beautiful Act, has 60 bipartisan co-sponsors, so that's split evenly between Republican and Democrats. It's really kudos to you guys for your advocacy last year. You were a huge part in getting us to that number. Very successful, and we're hoping we can get even more once we get up there on Capitol Hill. On the House side of things have taken a little bit longer than we would like. We don't have bill text out yet. We're continuing to work with Chairman Westerman to get language introduced, hopefully over there soon. And hopefully you guys can be a part of that too. Our goal with Advocacy Day is to get senators that aren't signed on to America the Beautiful Act, the 40 that aren't, hopefully to co-sponsor. And then just as importantly, really, to get the senators who are co-sponsored to thank them first and foremost for being a co-sponsor, and then also helping them and getting them maybe to raise the issue with leadership and bill sponsors. At the end of that meeting, we want them and staff to be saying, hey, I heard about this bill from constituents today. We're on it. What's the status? What's it looking like? On the House side, the mission is very similar. We want to educate members about the Legacy Restoration Fund. There's been a lot of turnover in Congress. People may not be aware of what it is and how it differentiates from other programs. And we just want to be clear that the benefit it has provided for public lands is enormous for our industry and something that we think is vital. And we want them to continue to raise that with House Natural Resources Committee staff, Chairman Westerman's team and Ranking Member Huffman's team. Get them reaching out would be a massive success. So if we can do those two things in House and Senate, that would be fantastic, and that would be success. So that's the Legacy Restoration Fund.
Jack, before you move on to the caucus, I wanted to highlight another comment that came through about um, how specific projects in states or districts that have been either started and funded or completed by LRF will be useful, right? Making it all politics or local. So can you talk a little bit about how we're providing that information?
Yeah, on every meeting that you guys have, when you go, and we'll talk about this in the app training tomorrow too, but it's pretty intuitive. When you click on the meeting on your schedule that you're going to be in the meeting details, we'll have, all the specific economic impact data just from the RV industry. And then we'll also have a specific kind of legacy restoration fund deferred maintenance sheet for you to reference. And that'll have on there the current deferred maintenance in that state, at what agencies that maintenance is a part of, and what projects, what GOA or LRF projects were actually done in that state. So you'll know all that beforehand, and you can look at that right before your meeting.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and then just transitioning, talking about the RV caucus. Really, this is the final ask for all your meetings, and just getting people engaged is going to be key here. The RV caucus is very important for us. It's the bipartisan group of senators and House members, both the House and Senate, who champion the RV industry and just lifestyle on Capitol Hill. They're kind of our main touch points and go-to members for issues that affect the industry. And they go to bat for us. Really, they co-sponsor legislation. They'll sign onto letters and ask for information from the administration. They ask the right questions at hearings. Having caucus members really is crucial to getting more information for us as a GA team and just getting more out about the RV industry as well. So when you're in your meetings, we'd love for you to ask members of Congress to join the RV caucus if they're not already members. And for the ones that are, please make sure to thank them for their support and attention to the industry. And also in your meeting details, we'll make sure to flag if the specific meeting is with a member of the RV caucus or not. So you should know that going in as well. And then just invite them to the reception at the end of the day, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in Senate Hart 902. Let them know that they're welcome to come by. We'd appreciate it if they're able to stop in.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you, Sam. If there are any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. This is being recorded, so we will be sending it out next week. And then tomorrow, we will be doing a training on our Event Mobi app, as Jack alluded to and touched on. This app will have all of your meetings, both Advocacy Day, individualized schedule, but also all the meetings and events that you registered for during RVMA. So we will be, that will all be in one location. You see here the upcoming dates and training. So 2 weeks from today, Advocacy Day meetings uploaded to the RVMA app. The app has push notification ability, so we'll be sending out a push notification to let folks know when the schedules have been uploaded. It was very well received last year, so we'll be doing first-time advocate training again this year, the morning of Tuesday, June 2nd. It's called first-time advocate training, but it's really for first-timers and anybody that would like any refreshers on anything or to ask any questions or raise any issues. that Tuesday afternoon post-lunch in-person policy issue training and meet your guide that we talked about. And then Wednesday's the ball game. So we're really excited about all of that and having all of you in DC. We do have one question, which is the right one, and the answer is yes. Should we invite staffers to the reception as well? Absolutely. We'll be doing an email blast the week before and then probably the day of to invite staff to the reception. But yes, absolutely. Please invite folks to swing on by and make sure we're introducing them to key folks in the industry. I see a hand raised who might have a question. If you want to, Tyler, if you want to put it in the chat, we can answer that. We'll just give them a second here. Okay. Oh, okay. Accidental raise. Thanks, Tyler. So with that, again, thank you everybody for your commitment to this industry and to being there in DC in just a couple of weeks. When you download the app, we'll be sending out information tomorrow about downloading the app and then walking you through it during the training tomorrow. But you'll see we have a countdown on the app until the start of our RVMA, which it can be both exciting and haunting at the same time, but mostly exciting. But in all seriousness, thank you to everybody for attending today and for your commitment to being in DC in just a couple of weeks here and participating in what is a tentpole event for our industry and doing the work of the committees and then joining us all on Capitol Hill for a great day of pushing forward and moving forward on issues that are vital to our industry. So with that, thank you all for your time. Look forward to seeing a lot of you tomorrow for the app training and seeing you all in person in DC in just a couple of weeks. Have a great rest of your day.